Do you like pina coladas and getting caught in the rain? I do not, and that actually happened to me this past weekend. But besides that, I did get a lot of reading done. I finished like 2 whole books, and I feel amazing about that. If you have not been up to date on your reading, never fear. The booktubeathon challenges were just announced. I will link that in the description below if you want to check it out. One of the challenges is to read a book that you discovered through BookTube. So today I'm going to be talking about books that I read in the month of June. And if you decide to read one of the books because I recommended it, please let me know, because that would be just like literally amazing. Let's just jump right into it. The first book that I want to talk about is called Landline by Rainbow Rowell. If you recognize that author's name, it's probably because you either read Fangirl and Eleanor in Part, because she authored both of those books. Landline is actually her adult fiction debut, and I have to say that I absolutely love this book. I think the concept is so refreshing and so fun. What you need to know is that the main protagonist, Georgie McCool, which is the coolest protagonist name ever, no pun intended, is a very career-driven woman, and she wants to basically create this really successful comedy television show with her co-worker Seth, who she's known since college. On the other hand, she also has a family. There's Neil and her 2 daughters, and Neil is very jealous of Seth. You can automatically tell just based on his dialogue early on in the book. Georgie gets her big break right around Christmas time, and she basically has to make the decision whether or not to go with Neil and her 2 daughters for Christmas to Neil's mother's house or stay in California and develop a television show. She decides to stay and develop a television show because, I mean, she's wanted this since she was 18 freaking years old. So basically what ends up happening is that Georgie starts to have a mental breakdown because she's like, I think that my marriage is crumbling even though I've gotten my big break. What she does, like any of us would probably do if we were having a mental breakdown, is we go to our mom's house. She discovers this landline telephone, and on it she's able to communicate to Neil from 20 years ago. She's able to really discuss the intricacies of their relationship before they were even married. Wonderfully depicted. I think it offers a really unique perspectives on modern marriages and relationships and careers, and I just had so much fun reading it. I think it would make for an amazing beach read because it's really not that long. So if you're looking for a beach read that's really fun but has kind of a mystical, sort of mythical element to it, Landline is definitely your best bet. The next book that I want to talk about is called Room by Emma Donoghue. Now, if you've heard of this book before, it makes sense because it's been in the media because Brie Larson won an Oscar for Best Leading Actress in a Motion Picture for the film adaptation of this book. Isn't that incredible? I love when books are made into movies and they get the recognition they deserve. Now, Jack tells the story in Room. He is a 5-year-old boy, and he grew up in this room with his mother, Ma. That's her only name in the book because he is the protagonist, he is the narrator, he shows the whole world to us based on what he knows of it, which isn't much because he's a 5-year-old boy and he grew up in a room. Right off the bat, you have interesting perspectives on normal things like showering, like eating, because he literally lives in this room. He's never seen the outside, and when he watches TV, he doesn't even realize that these things exist in real life. Jack grew up in this room with Ma, and it's so beautifully depicted. I feel like I could cry right now because I literally cried so many times reading this book. The writing is so beautiful. I have nothing bad to say about this book. I literally read it ravenously. Everyone should read this book if they can because it's literally beautiful. The writing is so articulate, it's so thoughtful, it's so thorough. If you have kids or if you're really close to a much younger sibling, I think that this book will really connect to you on a very personal level because it really depicts the very strong bond that a mother has with her son and how it's able to really go through all kinds of turmoil and still come out strong. Definitely go and pick up this book as soon as you can. The next book that I want to talk about is called Animal Farm by George Orwell. I try to make an effort to read a classic a month because I figure if I read a classic a month, that's 12 classics in a year, and over like maybe 80 years, that's basically, Animal Farm is a really amazing, articulate book. It's short. It's really, really short. The story behind this book is that there is a group of animals. They're living on a farm, and they decide that they're not happy with the life that they're living, and so they decide to revolt against the farmer very, very early on in the book. The majority of the book is focused on what happens after this revolt. The pigs, who are the hierarchy in this community, establish this concept of animalism, and they have these rules that all the animals have to abide by. And it sheds such an interesting light on totalitarianism and control, and I just absolutely loved it. You will enjoy this book if you read it. I think that you'll have a fun time with it. I think that you will definitely find it intriguing and interesting and thought-provoking. So if you're just thinking about, I wonder like what I could read from George Orwell, definitely go for Animal Farm because it is probably the best and probably the shortest that you're going to find from him. So the next book that I'm going to talk about is Me Before You by Jojo Moyes. I feel like this book is such a contentious topic right now in book 2. It's like people either love it or they're like, no, I don't ever want to see this book again. For me, I feel like it's somewhere in the middle because did I enjoy this book? Yes. Did I think it was amazing and deserved to be on the New York Times bestseller list for like 12 consecutive weeks in a row? No, I didn't. But I feel like I have to give some consideration to the author because it's so hard to be in the New York Times bestseller list. Can you imagine just all the hype surrounding this book, especially with the film, with Emilia Clarke being the freaking heroine? Like, that's insane! Do you imagine all the pressure? I really have to sympathize with Jojo Moyes and be like, okay, I understand that you did not expect this to be a bestseller. You were just trying to write a romance book. And you know what? It is a romance book. It is genuinely a romance book. I feel like the characters, you know, they weren't completely real. I feel like they were really contrived. I feel like I didn't really feel really closely connected to them. And I didn't feel like the writing was that bad. I definitely read it in like 2 sittings, but I feel like the only thing that kept me really reading to the end is curiosity. What is going to happen to these characters? And I know that makes it seem like maybe I cared about them, but I really didn't care about them. I just was like, okay, what is going to happen to them? Like, this whole book is about Will and Louisa. What is going to happen to them? I just want to know. But that's all I cared about. I didn't really feel very close to them. I didn't cry at the climax. I didn't cry at the end of the book. I just was like, okay, fine. I know a lot of people are kind of like, I love it or I hate it, but I didn't really feel that way. And I know it's kind of lukewarm or whatever, but I genuinely did not feel like I hated or loved this book. I felt like it was like, okay, if it wasn't super hyped up, I probably would have loved it a lot more. And that's kind of just like the downfall of being a New York Times bestseller. I didn't really feel like it lived up to my expectation, and that's no fault to the author. Like, I genuinely thought this was a really well-constructed book in terms of like writing. I'm not going to recommend it because I don't know. I mean, if you're going to read it, you're going to read it. If you don't, you don't. But I mean, I'm probably not going to be like, here, friend, take this book and read it, because I just didn't. It just didn't amaze me. The last book that I'm going to talk about today is called You Go Bernadette by Maria Semple. Now, I talked about this book in my June book haul, which I'll leave a link in the description below if you want to watch that. This is the only book that I really was able to read in the month of June that was included in my book haul, and I'm definitely going to improve on that. But people just were like really excited about this book in my comment section, so I was like, sure, of course I'm going to read this. And so I definitely was like really trying hard to get through this for the end of June, but I really didn't. I got through about halfway, but I have to say, I'm loving it so far. Like, literally, it's so amazing. Like, it's so unique. Basically, what you need to know, Bernadette, You Go Bernadette, she's agoraphobic, which basically means that she doesn't like to leave the house. And she even goes as far as hiring an Indian personal assistant to, like, buy clothes for her family and book reservations because she doesn't like other people. She literally wears sunglasses all the time. There isn't any chapters. There's parts, which a part of me is like, why isn't there chapters? But it kind of makes up for it because the book is really divided into little tiny parts. There's emails, there's texts, there's like little letters that are in the book to sort of, you know, like break apart the writing. B is technically the narrator, I guess. I'm not sure what the narrative structure exactly is in this book, but B sort of provides her feedback based on these little messages that are sent to Bernadette. I feel like an investigator in this book. I feel like a detective because you're piecing together pieces of information about Bernadette and where she could have gone. And so the whole idea is like, where did you go, Bernadette? And you have to read the whole book, I think, to kind of find out. I really want to finish it. I'm definitely going to finish it by this weekend because I'm going to have a lot of extra time. I'm volunteering at this event this weekend in Vermont, hoping that I'll be able to recommend it to other people when I'm there. Just be like, hey, read this book. And I'll probably end up losing it. I'll probably give it to somebody, but I'm definitely going to finish it before I give it to somebody. I'm loving it so far. I think the idea is really unique. I think that the writing is really interesting. I think that the whole structure is really intriguing and refreshing. If you're interested in a book that's kind of different than what you're typically used to, definitely go You Go Bernadette. Thank you guys so much for watching this video and all the books that I read in the month of June. I only technically read like 4.5, which is actually less than I usually read, but I'm definitely going to have a lot more in the month of July because Booktubeathon is coming and there's going to be 7 books that I'm definitely going to be reading. Hang on for my to be read video, which is going to come up later this week because I have so many amazing ideas for my to be read pile and I've literally spent hours thinking about it, which is probably too much. Honestly, I'm probably crazy. Thank you so much. Leave a like if you liked the video, comment if you want to talk to me or connect with me on Twitter. I'm also on there. I'll leave the link in the description below for my direct account. Oh, and subscribe if you want to see more of me.